Hello! Today we are going to talk about number lines and absolute value. Most of you have already worked with number lines and know how to use them. I will review a couple of things for you to make sure you're ready for the worksheet, and then to your worksheets you will go. So most of you already know how to list points on a number line. Wherever the dot is, that's the number you write down. So here the dots are on 2, 5, and 9. So those are the numbers you write down. However, one point I'm going to add to your number line knowledge is the use of ellipses. Those are those dot, dot, dot things. So when you find a number line like this with an arrow super bold, right? They might not always be that bold, but when it's bold, you need to list all the numbers that are on the number line that have dots, and then put an ellipses on whatever side of your list that the arrow is on. So here, our numbers are -3, -2, -1, and 0. And our bold arrow is on the left side of the number line, which means then we need to put our ellipses on the left-hand side. This tells us that we are including in our list all the numbers in our list plus the numbers that are smaller, which that's what the bold arrow means also. Similarly, if you start with a set of numbers to graph on a number line and an ellipses is included in your list, or 2, you need to put dots on all the numbers and then make the arrow bold on whatever side your ellipses is on. So if we label this number line to include all the numbers that are in our list, and we mark with dots the numbers that are in our list, and then because we have an ellipses on the left, we need to make the left arrow bold or color over it with something colorful. And then because we also have an ellipses on the right, we need to cover over our right arrow bold or something colorful. Okay? Keep that in mind as you do your worksheet today, because you'll have a few problems that this information applies to. Along with graphing, Tuesday you will be comparing numbers after you have graphed them on the number line. Most of you will not have a problem telling me which numbers are bigger and which are smaller, but I want to remind you that smaller numbers are on the left in any number line, including when they're all negative. The further left your numbers are, the smaller they get. So I want you to keep this in mind, especially for negative numbers. Bigger negatives are actually smaller. For instance, -17 is smaller than -4. So if I were to put a less than or greater than sign, I would put a less than, because the 17 is actually further to the left than the -4, which means it's smaller. Sometimes it helps to think of this in terms of temperature. So -17 is colder than -4. But winter's over, so let's not talk about negative temperatures anymore. Now on to absolute value. Absolute value simply means the distance a number is away from 0. So that means that your absolute value will always end up positive, because numbers can't be a negative distance away from 0. So let's look at this number line. +3 is 1, 2, 3 units away from 0. At the same time, -3 is 1, 2, 3 units away from 0. So whether you start at +3 or -3, the distance away, or the absolute value, is 3 in both cases. Absolute value basically means that you take away the sign of a number. Solving these kinds of problems becomes easy then. These things are called absolute value pipes. So the absolute value of -10 is just 10. because negative 10 is 10 units away from 0. And the absolute value of 3/4 is 3/4. However, what if you have to do a little substitution and simplifying too? That is when things get a little more challenging. What if your problem was evaluate the absolute value of x plus 8 plus 12 when x equals 8? You already know that substitution means we are taking out a number or quantity and putting in one that is equal. So here, x equals 8. So anywhere there's an x, we could put in an 8, or anywhere there's an 8, we could put in an x, potentially. So we can take the x out of this equation and put in an 8 instead. So now we have 8 plus 8 inside the absolute value pipes. The pipes act as a grouping symbol in the order of operations. So in PEMDAS, they would be part of the P. Whatever operation is inside of them must be done first, and then you can take the absolute value. So the 8s are added together to get 16, and they're still inside the absolute value pipes. And then the absolute value of 16 is, please tell me you said 16. And then you add 16 to 12 and get your answer. 28, right? Cool. Now it is time for your worksheet. If you need help with anything, feel free to watch any part of this video over again, but make sure you ask Miss Lee first. She also has an answer key to check your answers if you're really confused, but I think you guys will be awesome. Good luck!